Welcome, everyone, to Language Unlocked, the podcast where we break down the barriers to language learning. I'm Clara, and joining me today, as always, is my brilliant co-host, Alex.
Thanks, Clara. It's great to be here. And today, we're tackling a topic that sounds deceptively simple, but it holds the key to so much success in English learning: the power of easy English listening and slow conversation.
Absolutely, Alex. When we first saw this phrase, it might seem obvious, but I think many learners and even some teachers overlook just how profound this approach can be. I mean, think back to when you were learning a new language, or even English learners we've spoken to. What's often the biggest frustration?
Well, for me, it was always the speed. Native speakers talk so incredibly fast sometimes. You feel like you're catching individual words, maybe, but then they all blur together, and you lose the whole meaning. It's like trying to drink from a fire hose.
Exactly. And that's where the easy English listening part comes in. It's not about dumbing down the language. It's about making it accessible, building a foundation. When we say easy, we're talking about materials that use simpler vocabulary, common sentence structures, and most importantly, very clear, deliberate pronunciation. It's content designed specifically for learners, not for other native speakers.
Right, and the psychological impact of easy can't be overstated. Imagine you're a beginner and you jump straight into watching a Hollywood movie or listening to a fast-paced news report. You're going to feel overwhelmed, discouraged, and probably give up. But if you start with something you can actually understand, even just 70 to 80% of, you feel a sense of accomplishment. That success builds confidence, and confidence is the fuel for continued learning.
That's so true. I remember trying to learn French, and I'd pick up these podcasts designed for native speakers, and I'd just sit there feeling utterly lost. My brain would scramble, trying to keep up, and I'd end up just shutting it off. It was too much, too fast, too complex. Had I started with something explicitly labeled Easy French for Beginners, my journey might have been less frustrating in those early days.
It's like learning to run, Clara. You don't start with a marathon. You start by learning to walk, then you jog, then you run short distances, and eventually, maybe, you tackle that marathon. Language learning is very similar. You need to build that muscle memory and endurance with manageable steps.
A perfect analogy. Now let's move to the second half of our phrase, slow conversation. This applies to both how you listen and how you speak. For listening, slow means a more deliberate pace, with natural but distinct pauses between phrases and sentences. It's about clarity over speed.
Exactly. When someone speaks slowly, your brain has time to catch up. It can process each word, link it to the next, and understand the grammatical structure. Fast speech often compresses sounds, links words together in ways that are hard for a non-native ear to distinguish. Slow gives your auditory system a chance to isolate and identify the individual components of the message.
And for speaking, slow conversation is absolutely crucial, especially in the early and intermediate stages. How many times have you heard learners say, "I know the words, I understand the grammar, but when I try to speak, nothing comes out," or "I can't form a sentence fast enough"?
All the time. The pressure to respond quickly in a real-time conversation can be paralyzing. If you're constantly worried about keeping up, you're not focusing on accurate pronunciation, correct grammar, or even conveying your actual thoughts. A slower pace allows you to formulate your ideas, retrieve the right vocabulary from your mental dictionary, and construct sentences with more thought and less panic.
It's about reducing that cognitive load. Imagine your brain as a computer. If you're trying to run too many complex programs at once, listening, understanding, thinking of a response, translating, it will crash. Slowing down the conversation is like closing some of those background programs, giving your main operating system more resources to function effectively.
That's a fantastic way to put it. And it's important to clarify that slow doesn't mean speaking like a robot or sounding unnatural forever. It's a strategic tool, a stepping stone. You build confidence and accuracy at a slower pace, And as you get more comfortable, your speed will naturally increase.
Precisely. The combined power of easy listening and slow conversation creates a truly powerful and sustainable learning environment. You're constantly consuming content that you can mostly understand, which reinforces vocabulary and grammar without overwhelming you. And you're practicing speaking at a pace that allows you to build fluency and accuracy without the crushing pressure of a rapid-fire exchange.
So for our listeners out there, how can they actually put this into practice? Where can they find these easy resources and opportunities for slow conversation?
Great question, Alex. For easy listening, there are tons of podcasts specifically designed for English learners. Many will even specify beginner or intermediate levels. YouTube channels often have playlists with simplified news, short stories, or everyday conversations. Even some children's educational content can be surprisingly effective because it's designed to be clear and simple. Look for clear narration and topics that aren't too niche or academic.
And for slow conversation, the key is communication and finding the right partners. If you're doing a language exchange, don't be afraid to explicitly ask your partner, could you please speak a little slower? Or could you rephrase that in simpler terms? Most people are happy to accommodate. Professional tutors are also excellent for this, as they are trained to adapt their speech to your level.
Definitely. And don't forget self-practice. Record yourself speaking. It might feel awkward at first, but listening back to your own voice at a slower, more deliberate pace can help you identify areas for improvement and solidify your pronunciation. It also takes the pressure of a real-time interaction out of the equation.
One final tip: focus on understanding the main idea first rather than every single word. With easy listening and slow conversation, you'll naturally pick up more, but don't obsess over perfection. Progress, not perfection, is the goal.
That's a fantastic point to end on, Alex. So, to recap, embracing easy English listening and slow conversation isn't just a gentle approach. It's a highly strategic and effective one. It reduces anxiety, builds confidence, allows your brain to process information more effectively, and ultimately accelerates your journey towards fluency without the overwhelm.
Precisely, Clara. It's about building a robust foundation, piece by carefully understood piece, rather than trying to build a skyscraper on shaky ground. By giving yourself permission to learn at a comfortable pace, you're setting yourself up for long-term success and genuine enjoyment of the English language.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So if you've ever felt frustrated with English or any language, remember the power of easy and slow. Give it a try this week.
Absolutely. That's all for this episode of Language Unlocked. Thanks for tuning in.
And we'll catch you next time.